And I was like, a D&D era in Stranger Things season 4 has fans arguing. And I was like, what? What in Stranger Things season 4? What error did they make in a TV show that has people arguing? And it's like Demogorgons, Mind Flayers, and Vecna. Oh my! These are just some of the terrifying villains. Okay, so the basic D&D term is misused, and I was like, wait, I missed this. What did I miss? What was the basic D&D term that I missed? I was like, oh, okay. So I read on. And I was like, okay. Season 4 is a love letter to Dungeons and Dragons, and I get that they do a reference. I like that D&D. One, I love this character. I think this guy is freaking awesome. I like his character. I want to see more of him. I can't wait for the ending of Stranger Things season 4 to come out. But I was like, what was misused? Because I missed it. I've been playing D&D for years, 10 years to be in fact, and I'm like, what did I miss? And then new Stranger Things characters, Eddie Munson, who is awesome, who makes me want to dress up like a punk rock star and go and play Dungeons and Dragons. I love how animated he was. But this was the quote right here. This is what they said. Mike and Dustin bring their Lucas's sister to Hellfire. Eddie questions her about D&D credentials. He asks her for her class and level, and then jokes she's a level 1 dwarf. I'm like, okay. All right, yeah, I remember that scene. Apparently explained, so this is a Reddit user, Sippo Thomas, but dwarf isn't a class, it's a race. I was like, wait, is that it? Is that what the and I was like, there's no way. There's no way that's just it. The entire show is based around D&D, and this is like 101. It's not, see, I'm like, wait a second, wait a hot minute. This isn't even that bad. This is just someone on the internet being someone on the internet. This is just the internet being the internet. I wouldn't even, to me, like, I would say something like this. I feel like me and a bunch of other people would say something like, oh, you're just a level 1 dwarf. Right? Like, who can't, like, we get it. We get the idea. Like, we're supposed to think of a dwarf. We're not supposed to, like, did you want them to add the word fighter in there? At first glance, it seems like an obvious mistake. Dwarves, elves, races, or classes such as rogues and paladins, though some agreed with the Redditor. Others delved deep into the history of Dungeons & Dragons to find the answer. There's no way they took this seriously. Redditor noted that Dungeons & Dragons game versions aren't so cut and dry. Giving a concise history on the forum, as many old players from the 70 days will tell you, people just mix all sorts of different materials together. Maybe, yeah, I do that. Yeah, you know, I watched Lord of the Rings one day and my campaign feels like Lord of the Rings. I watched Star Wars the next day and my campaign feels like Star Wars. It's, yeah, it's just inspiration coming in from all different sources. Maybe you only had the 1981 version of Basic D&D Basic Book, 1983 version of Basic D&D Advanced D&D Monster Manual. Beyond that, of course, the creators are entitled for creative liberty. This isn't even creative liberty. This is just something that just sounds good. I'm sorry, but saying level 1 dwarf, in my opinion, sounds better than being like, oh, what is she, just a level 1 dwarf fighter? Like, I feel like level 1 dwarf just comes off the tongue easier. It's quick. It's not even, it's just them making fun of her. It's not even part of the main plot. It's just to show, okay, we said dwarf, that, you know, people who play D&D, who are big fans of nerd culture, know what a dwarf is, and dwarfs, you know, they're kind of memed on in you know, Lord of the Rings and things like that. Tolkien made a whole joke about them. And then, you know, if you don't know if you're not a nerd like the rest of us, then you hear the word dwarf and you're like, oh yeah, I've heard of dwarves before. I know what a dwarf is. He's the dude on the Game of Thrones. It's the guys in the Hobbit movies. Like, that's a dwarf. And you're like, yes, okay, you get it. Like, I think it, because they're not just, the show's not just for us. The show is phenomenal. Like, almost everyone watches Stranger Things, and it's kind of like a flagship show for Netflix. So it makes sense that line would be there. Maybe I'm just looking at it from like a film like perspective, but I genuinely think that it's not a big deal. I want to see, I need to see. Did people on Reddit? I don't even know how I would find this. Okay, let's see. Reddit, Stranger Things for D&D mistake. Oh my gosh. It only got 8 updates. What? Wait, okay. Original post. Please make sure there is no spoilers in title. Commenters. Okay, yeah. Click to see spoil. Okay. In season 4, episode 1, and her credentials, he asked it for classes, making them jokes about level 1 dwarf, but dwarf isn't a class, it's a race. Oh, look, it's the dude. It's the dude. It's the dude we just straight up saw in the thing. The entire show is based around... Dude, this only got 8 upvotes. What? Wait, they made a whole article on this? And this is like 101. It's weird to me that they'd F up such basic material. You are correct, but I do believe the first edition treated races like classes, so I'm not sure they are wrong. Oh, snap. Jeffrey coming in with the facts. Oh, that's an interesting thought. I'll have to look into that. Edit, nope, races are races and classes are classes. He did his homework. He's like, oh, he did his homework. All right. Well, yeah, in the 80s, there would have been... They're going back and forth on this. The kids apparently are playing D&D and races and classes were not different. That's so much... That one's much tougher to find a free rule book for. Yo, there's no way. There's no... Hold on. They're debating about this. The nerds are going to war with one another. So, where they combine, the girl says that she's a half rogue. She's a half elf rogue. Would half elf rogue be its own class then? So they... You are correct. That this is inaccuracy. She would have been a half-elf as a race, but rogue was not introduced until later editions. She would have actually be either a thief, assassin, or acrobat as a class. Actually, there are some great retro clones of the BX for the free rules. This is one of the most popular and my favorite. It is 100% faithful to the original... I don't even know what BX stands for. Sets races were separate in D&D. So when Eddie is asking her, he's implying that she's using the basic rules, not the advanced rules. Interestingly enough, in the old school D&D community, today the BM version is far more popular than the first edition, which has its fans, of course, but many regard it as overly clunky. Oh my gosh. Dude left a link in everything to this. The duality of the rules has something that lasted all the way to the introduction of the 3rd edition in 2000. Most of the settings were for... I don't know what AD&D stands for. Though basic D&D only had Mysteria. Vecna is a monster originally from the Greyhawk setting. It just keeps going! It just... No, races are races. Classes are classes, per the player's handbook. First edition released in 1978. In the basic D&D release in 1977, Dwarf, Elf, Halfling were classes instead of races. Basic D&D was a simplified version of AD&D or First Edition, designed to introduce new players, which makes sense conceptually for Eddie to say because Erica's brand new to D&D. No! Oh my gosh! What's a different system? Basically, if you want to think of it like a computer code, White Box with 0 edition. It's the OG edition, would be the original mainline branch. Then they forked the branch to Moldavi, which led to BX, then BECMI, or branch to AD1E. If you played an elf character class, your abilities let you fight like a fighter, wear armor, and cast spells like magic user. Oh my gosh, been playing both long time. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Original D&D dwarf, halfling, and elf as their own class. They had numbered levels, then went into letters. This is better than the freaking article. When the article said that they argued, I was not expecting this. Wow. There you go, guys. All you have to do is Google Stranger Things Season 4 wrong about D&D, and you can watch one of. That was an amazing D&D debate. I learned absolutely nothing from it, but I got much entertainment out of it. Until next time, play nice.